In today's video, we're going to give you the straight scoop of what it's really been like to have no home and just travel the world full time for the past year.
Yeah, a year ago we did a video before we started out and we told you kind of what our plans were and where we were going, and we've been on the road for a little over a year and we just thought it was a good time to give you some updates, tell you how it's going. It's actually going well.
Very well.
And share some information that we have, so stay tuned.
We're John and Bev, and we are the Retirement Travelers.
If you're new to this channel, we wanted to give you a little bit of background about ourselves. We're John and Bev, the Retirement Travelers, and we retired at the end of 2019 at age 55. Our plans were pretty simple. We were going to live in a golf community in Florida and pretty much just play golf and hang out and enjoy our retirement.
Because we couldn't travel abroad at the time, we decided to buy an Airstream travel trailer and take off on an adventure across the country to see all the national parks. It had always been on our bucket list, and so we made one big loop the first year around the country, and we saw half the national parks and half the states.
Yes, it was an amazing trip, and you know, there were some expected things. We expected the country to be beautiful and to seeing all the national parks. What we didn't expect was the impact of living in an RV for 6 months had on us. We began to realize that we didn't need all the space in our condo that we thought we did, and we were perfectly happy being together, traveling the nation in an RV. And it got us thinking about really what we wanted to do long term. So our goal in retirement is to see as much of the world as we possibly can and have some fun and some crazy adventures along the way.
So there were several takeaways from our time in the United States. For us, I think the biggest part of it was the thrill of the adventure of seeing our own country and seeing it first before we took off to travel the world. The diversity of our country is awe-inspiring, and the national park system is really, it's a crowning jewel for the United States. We saw rivers and streams and mountains and deserts and caves and seashores. It is a sight everyone should see, and if you get a chance to travel into these places, take the time to do it. But for us, the biggest takeaway is that we were glad we didn't wait till later in life to do that.
So when we left for Central America, we headed for Panama, and then we went to Costa Rica, Guatemala, and Colombia. We were on the road for about 4 months. And, you know, we had traveled internationally before, but only for, 1 or 2 week durations. We'd never been gone for 4 months. And we think what this did for us in Central America, it gave us confidence. And it's not that we weren't confident, but when you go on the road like this, there's a lot of unknowns traveling in Central America. And as we began to learn and, really understand how to travel and how to do things, and picked up a little Spanish here and there, it gave us the attitude that, we could go conquer the world.
The next takeaway for Central America was the pride in the countries that we visited. Everyone there was so proud of their country, and they were so happy to see us and greeted us. I think that maybe Guatemala won the award. It didn't matter who we met in Guatemala. They were so happy that we were there, and we just learned so much being there. It was fun.
The next takeaway was you don't have to be scared to go to places. We had read a lot of things, especially around Guatemala and Colombia, like, oh, don't go there, it's unsafe, you're going to get mugged and robbed. And I tell you what, we didn't feel unsafe at all. As Bev said, the people were very nice and genuine and helpful. We got stopped many times of people either giving us directions, helping us out, telling us what to go see, where to go eat. It was incredible, the hospitality that we saw all over Central America. So we know that there's good people everywhere.
The next takeaway for Central America and Colombia was that we didn't have to rely on only the United States for our medical care. While we were in Colombia, we went to the dentist, the eye doctor, I got a mammogram, and we realized that the healthcare in these other countries are really good. And it changed our mindset around our panic of, oh, if we get sick, we'll have to go back home. And while we would go back home if we got something like cancer, we know that we can get treated in another country and be okay.
Yes, it was really eye-opening. We have lots of options on medical treatment. In the middle of our time in Central America, we actually threw in a trip to Dubai. You might think, okay, that's a little crazy, but there was actually a couple reasons. We had lots of scheduling issues getting into Nicaragua and El Salvador, and the World EXPO was in Dubai, and it was ending at the end of March. And we really wanted to check it out, and it was definitely worth it. The World EXPO was amazing, and we've actually decided that we're going to go to as many World Expos as we can over the future. The other thing we discovered that every country in the world had a pavilion at the Expo, so we were actually able to do like our 10-year trip planning by visiting the different countries and seeing all that they had to offer. So it was a fantastic trip. I'm really glad we made it.
Our main takeaway about Dubai was that while we were there, it didn't break the bank. We stayed in a hotel that was about $120 a night. We stayed near the metro, we took public transportation, and we had a great experience while we were there.
After our 4 months in Central America, we headed back to the United States to see our kids and grandkids, and that was great. We went on a cruise, we went to the Bahamas, and we had a great time. After that, we headed off for the longest trip of our life, a 9-month trip to Europe. We spent the first 90 days in the European Union, in the Netherlands, Greece, and Italy. After that is where we're at now. We're spending 90 days in the Balkans, and we're currently in Romania. After that, we're going to go back to the European Union and spend most of our time in southern Italy, and we're going to kick off the new year in Paris.
So our biggest takeaways from traveling in Europe so far, the first one is that weather affects us. We really don't like to be too cold, and we don't want to be too hot. So I think that as we travel in the future, we're going to be more mindful about the weather in general. When we came to the Netherlands, it was very cold. And then we headed to Greece, and it was very cold. So as we travel the future, we really want to learn from this experience. We also don't want to have to carry coats with us. And right now we're kind of loaded down with some coats because this trip is so long. So when we spend winter in Paris or in southern Italy, it's going to be a little chilly. And so going forward, we're just going to change that a little bit.
The next big learning for us was that this wasn't a 9-month vacation. Back, when I was working, we would go on a 1-week vacation, and it was always, how much can we cram into 1 week? We have to go see and do everything, and that is exactly not what we're doing. We have learned to kind of chill out a little bit and realize that we are not on vacation. We are living in different locations around the world each week. You know, we do things like go to get a haircut, we go to the grocery store, we go to the laundromat, and it's really a different mindset. We don't have to go see every tourist attraction in town to have a good time, and we're really getting to experience what life is like in each of these cities.
The next takeaway that Europe has taught us is that we are still capable of overpacking. When we finished up in Central America, when we went back home, we repacked and we tried to downsize more. And then once we took off to Europe, we have found that we still overpacked. So we are going to do a video soon about what's in our pack, and we have downsized to just backpacks, and we are much happier, and we will show you some of that, so be sure you look for that video in the future.
The next thing we learned while traveling in Europe is how we like to travel. You know, you've probably heard terms like slow travel or fast travel. We've kind of got into the groove of what works for us. And what works for us is a week at a time in a city, but you travel regionally. So, whereas in slow travel, someone might spend a month in a city, what we do is spend 1 week in a city, then we go maybe 2 hours away by train, stay in another city, and then go another 2 hours away. This way, when you're packing light like we do, it's fairly easy to move from city to city by train. We have to do less day trips, and we really feel like we get to know the country. So this last example, we've spent 6 weeks in Italy in 6 different cities, and it worked out really well.
The next thing we learned in Europe, and really we kind of learned this in Central America, was not to book too far ahead. When we started our trip, we booked out a whole year, and we regretted that from the day we started traveling. We want to be more vagabondish and go on a whim somewhere. People tell us about a different city that we should check out, or just all along the way we have regretted that we have booked up so far ahead. Going into the future, we will not do that. We really just want to plan our big legs, like our flights when we start a trip, and then we want to go from there. So we may not get the best accommodations, we may not get the cutest Airbnbs going forward, but we really don't care. We just kind of want to be more footloose and fancy free, and I think we can do that if we don't book too far ahead. The biggest question that we get outside of how much something costs is, what about your kids and grandkids? We have 5 kids and they're all married. We have 8 grandchildren, and our kids are the most supportive of what we're doing. On a daily basis, we get a text or a call or an email or a FaceTime call where they're encouraging us and telling us what a good job we're doing. And I don't think we could do this whole journey without that love and support.
And regarding loving our grandchildren, our goal in retirement is to really leave a legacy of the world for them. You know, we want them to know about the world. I think it's easy for kids in America right now to, get caught up in their own little city and state and not know much about the world. And that's not what we want for our grandchildren. We send them postcards, we send them globes, we FaceTime from all over the world with them. We want them to know the world. And when they're old enough, say maybe 9 or 10, our plans are to bring them along and give them experiences all over the world.
Yes, our plan is that maybe we will affect their world in the future, and this be for posterity's sake, because it's not just what our grandchildren experience as they're traveling, but what they will teach their own children one day, and then those children will learn something from that. And we hope that one day they'll look back in their life and say, our grandparents changed our life by showing us these places. We don't know if our children will be doctors or nurses that travel for medical care, or maybe they'll be missionaries, or maybe they'll be a reporter or a writer or something like that. We don't know what our grandchildren will do with their lives, but we hope that they will look at their coworker one day and say, oh, I've been to your country, or they will look at someone that they meet on the street and be more understanding of them.
Yes, and someday, we hope to hear them say, Grammy and Papa gave us the world.
Yeah, that's the biggest legacy we could give them.
Yeah. Another comment that we get often is, why don't you just travel and drop the YouTube channel? Maybe they don't like our videos. I don't know. But that's actually a pretty good question. Why do we have a YouTube channel? And it is a lot of work for almost no pay. Okay, you don't do this for the pay. But, we wouldn't trade it for anything. Having a YouTube channel has done many things for us. It's really challenged us. It's helped us learn and grow. We work together. Most of the time we work together. And pretty well. And it's fun to create and do something like this. So it's also a fantastic record of our journey around the world. And it just constantly challenges us. So yes, we could probably go and do this trip without a YouTube channel. But we actually like the challenge and the learning and everything associated with it. So, we're going to continue with the YouTube channel.
The other thing that we're really excited about with it is the comments that we get.
Yeah.
When we get a comment that somebody says, oh, you've inspired me to do that too, or I want to go there, or you've just made me feel happy today, those things sustain us. And so be sure you leave comments below and come along. I mean, hitting subscribe just makes us feel loved and appreciated, and we hope we're adding value to your life. If it's just entertainment or it's information.
So thanks for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed the video. We just wanted to give you an update of what it's been like on the road for the past year and some of the things we've learned and encountered, and hope you'll follow along with us as we continue traveling the world. Be sure to hit subscribe and follow along on our retirement journey around the world.